Hi, my name is Dr. Felicia. I'm a licensed psychologist, and today I'm going to be answering the question, where do OCD thoughts or obsessions come from? This is a commonly asked question from people who have OCD, and it's a really important question actually to understand and discover as you're in the process of getting treated for OCD. And so OCD thoughts and obsessions are a byproduct of something known as cognitive distortions. And cognitive distortions are inaccurate and unrealistic beliefs that we have. Think about it like a cracked or a blurry lens through which you view the world and what happens to you. That's what a cognitive distortion is. Basically, kind of like, a lie that you believe, something that you automatically assume without realizing it. Okay, so when people are engaging in cognitive distortions, it's often automatic. They don't really realize that they're doing it. And it's sort of like a viewpoint or a framework of how you view the world. Now, cognitive distortions are not unique to OCD. Cognitive distortions are part of several other sort of mental health disorders. So it's not just unique to OCD. However, there are cognitive distortions that occur more frequently when people are experiencing OCD. I'm going to go over a few of them in this video. Think about another way of thinking of cognitive distortions are lies that OCD tells you. Okay, so the first cognitive distortion or the first lie is that I must be certain to move forward or to avoid catastrophe. Okay, so that's the first cognitive distortion, the need for absolute certainty to avoid harm or to be able to move forward with a decision. When we think about the needing certainty before moving forward, that oftentimes happens with people who have perfectionistic rituals around OCD, perfectionistic obsessions, things like that. And then also when people are very concerned that they must be certain in order to avoid catastrophe, that can also go hand in hand with people who have obsessions around the fear of causing harm to self or others. When I talk about harm to self, I'm not talking about suicidal ideation. I'm talking about just the general fear that something they can do or that they think is going to cause harm. Okay, so a lot of times when these cognitive distortions and obsessions are going on, there's a lot of reassurance seeking, either through the process of OCD rituals internally or by asking others for reassurance. Okay, the second one is the belief, the second cognitive distortion is the belief that I must be in control at all times. And so with that, there is oftentimes a fear of losing control. When people have this belief that they must be in control of everything at all times, there is a great deal of concern that they may just lose control and either cause harm, embarrass themselves, do something that is irreversible. Okay, and so that's where, and then also we have a lot of these obsessive thoughts around the loss of control. And so there's a feared event that's going to happen, and that feared event happens because the person has lost control in some way or another. Okay, and it could be something like embarrassing themselves. And when we think about religious scrupulosity, and I have done a video on that as well, people will think that they may just lose control and shout obscenities in a church. People who have other concerns around losing control are afraid of just doing something which they're not controlling their mind or their body, causing embarrassment, shame, just a lot of negative consequences. Okay, and so the third cognitive distortion is that negative emotions are harmful and I can't handle them. So there's a great deal of work going around avoiding those negative emotions, right? And so I did a video on this as well. But when we think about the negative emotions that accompany OCD, it's not just anxiety. Anxiety is a big one, but there's also shame. There's also disgust. there's also just this feeling of uncertainty or feeling like something is just not right. And so when you think about these really challenging emotions, the lie that OCD is telling you is that you can't handle this. And that's when the compulsions come in. The fourth one is that I am my thoughts. My thoughts are me. And so when, a hallmark feature of OCD are intrusive and negative thoughts. And so most people who don't have OCD, when they have a negative thought or when they have an intrusive thought, something that is just kind of strange or unpleasant, it's just, oh, well, that was a thought, no big deal. But when people have OCD, they believe that that thought they have reflects themselves as their true character, and they're either going to act on that thought at either now or in the future. So there's really no separation between themselves and the nature of the thoughts they have. And so that's something also known as thought action fusion, which I'm not going to go into in this video, but that's something you can easily Google. But basically, thought action fusion is I am my thoughts. If I have a thought about harming somebody, if I have a thought that's disgusting, that means I am a disgusting person and I will cause harm to other people. Okay, so that's another lie that OCD tells you. And when that happens, it's very distressing. And so people go through different types of rituals to suppress those thoughts. Thought suppression doesn't work. If you try not to think about something, you're just going to think about it more. And that just perpetuates the negative cycle of OCD. Okay, so how do we deal with all these negative cognitive distortions and lies that OCD tells us? Some people, especially when they're attempting to treat OCD on their own, will argue with themselves and argue in their minds all day about why this is not true. Okay, and so, on some level, we probably understand that cognitive distortions are inaccurate and they're irrational, but the only way that we truly believe this and embody this is through ERP. Exposure response prevention. And that is the non-medical gold standard treatment for OCD. And I have other videos on how ERP works, but basically ERP teaches us that the negative thoughts and the negative feelings and just the unpleasantness that OCD keeps trying to tell us that are going to destroy us and that we have to avoid actually are not as harmful as we believe. Okay, and so this happens with the process of exposure and response prevention. And when you go through that treatment, you learn and embody the fact that these OCD lies are not true. You can tell someone all day that something isn't harmful, but the way that they actually experience it is by going through what they think is going to be harmful to destroy them, and then they figure out that it doesn't. And so usually ERP rather for OCD is going to look slightly different depending on the types of obsessions that are present. But the bottom line is that you learn that usually what you are afraid of doesn't happen. And if it does happen to you, you learn to handle it, you live through it, you live to see another day. Okay, so that is how ERP works. I'm going to go through the cognitive distortions one more time. Think about this as lies that OCD tells you. The first one is I must be certain before I proceed, or I must be certain, absolutely 100% certain before in order to avoid catastrophe. So the first one is that really strong need for certainty. The second one is the need for control. I must be in control at all times. The third one has to do with the avoidance of negative emotions. So negative emotions are harmful and I can't handle them, and therefore they must be avoided. That's the third one. And then the fourth one is I am my thoughts and my thoughts are me. And so whether they're pleasant thoughts or unpleasant thoughts, intrusive thoughts, or whatever, your thoughts are you. And of course, these are not true, but the way we learn that they're not true is through the process of ERP that I talked about. So if you are interested in learning about ERP, or you'd like to get treatment for your OCD, you can go ahead and book a free consultation on my website. The link is in the description box, but it's skillsetcounseling.com. Click on the link and you can book a free one-on-one consultation with me. Okay, so I hope this information is helpful to you. If it is, click the like button and also put in the comment section, what other types of videos and what other information you would like to learn. All right, may you have a peaceful and wonderful day. Bye-bye.